Welcome everyone to Already Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Tara. We talk about TV shows. The year is 2021 and the name of the show is Babylon 5. This is Season 2, Episode 13. It's called Hunter Prey. So, full spoilers for the episode, as always. So, we got some Vorlon teasing in this episode. Probably my favourite thing about the whole episode is that Sheridan just turned around and said, you know what, I'm sick of this Mystery Vorlon crap. I'm going to make it my own personal project to figure out what the hell's going on with Kosh. And it actually makes sense because he felt like a connection to Kosh with that dream, to the point where he actually feels like Kosh was there, not just in the dream, but like he was telepathically, reaching out or whatever. Mm-hmm. So it makes sense that he's motivated for that, and I like that. I like that detail. I will say though, this is maybe not the best episode we've had in a little while for a few reasons. just I mean, I must say I didn't enjoy it, but it was definitely a cheesier episode where some sillier things were happening here or there.
Yeah. We had one really great episode and then like back-to-back cheese.
I liked the last one a bit more than you did, but
but there's some pretty cheesy parts of that.
There was one significantly cheesy section. There was like concentrated cheese for over a bit of a 3-minute period where there was fabric hanging off the walls and like a goofy alien
Halloween
costume.
store mask.
Yeah. This one I do think it still fits in neatly to everything that's going on, because it teased the Vorlon stuff with Kosh and Sheridan's like wanting to like prod there, and there's a couple of cool other bits to that too. And then it also kind of advanced more of this, the conspiracy with Earth and like who's involved in the conspiracy to assassinate the previous president, and all that other A-plot stuff feeds into that. So it was nice to keep that going. It wasn't necessarily every part of the plot itself in the episode was, it was definitely a B-tier episode, I think, because ultimately, while I enjoy Garibaldi putting on a PI disguise and going around with Franklin, like looking for people, the
hat was gold.
That said, my favorite thing, my favorite bad thing about this episode, and it's not really bad, it's sort of like, it's so kind of bad that I kind of love it. It sort of it comes around, is we've got like a mugger villain dude who looks really cheesy. He's actually an actor that I've seen on other things. I looked him up to see where. Now I know where you know him from, because it happened to mention like 180 episodes of Night Court, and we just spoke about that, so I know you know him from that.
I think I brought his character up too. He's Bull from Night Court. Most people, I mean, in America probably know him from that. Yeah.
So his character's Max, and I've seen him he's been on like a bunch of TV shows throughout the years. He's that guy. He pops up in small roles. Very distinctive face, but he's got longer hair in this. He's got a goatee, so he's got a bit of a
But he still talks in a way that makes you want to laugh at him. Like, he still talks like he's in a sitcom.
Oh yeah, he's definitely got some cheese. And I was into the cheese, but I was loving the cheese when he put on those sunglasses. Oh baby.
Well, he had to have a disguise. No one could recognize me with these cool shades on.
He sends like basically a ransom video, for the main the character that they're tracking down, the doctor character. We'll get into what the plot is in a minute, but when he put on those sunglasses for this video, man, I was just giggling with glee, and not in a mean way.
It was so funny.
Like, not in a mean way, even though it is kind of a so bad it's good thing. I was loving it. I was loving just how goofy he looked.
Yeah, me too. I laughed quite a bit.
Yeah, it was good. It was good.
Yeah. I like this show. It's a pretty good show.
Yeah, I love how I feel like I was the one who jumped to positivity more, but the first episode where Tara messaged me saying this is a great show was this episode. Like, right after
I sent you a picture of the guy with the sunglasses, though.
I love this show. I'm on board. This is what cinched it. This guy wearing the sunglasses.
It's just, things were just going so well, and I was taking the show really seriously, and then we get this. Then we get Max.
I think the show is not afraid to be 90s cheese at times, and I think that's to its benefit.
Oh, I mean, it's super endearing.
Yes.
And every single time, Garibaldi and friends have to put on civilian clothes, it always reminds me, oh yes, 90s. The hat was a mistake, though.
The hat's definitely bold.
Sorry, Garibaldi. I know you had this like in your closet, just waiting for the opportunity to wear the hat.
Yeah, so the plot revolves around this Dr. Jacobs, who it turns out is actually the medical physician for what was the vice president but is now the current president, who mysteriously, had an illness the day before the Air Force One, or the Space
Force One.
Space Force One, that was it.
No. That's not it. Earth Force One.
Earth Force One. Yeah, yes. So the day before that, is destroyed. He's conveniently sick. And so this is one of these things where I like them kind of like pulling on like a very natural thread. Well, unless his doctor's also in this, and it's part of the conspiracy, this would be a natural occurrence that the doctor would be the one who kind of said, wait a minute, you weren't sick. There ain't nothing wrong with you. What are you talking about? So this is essentially Earth hunting him down under the guise that he has, state secrets and all sorts of like shady projects that he can blab about. So it's the priority number one's to get him dead or alive. And Sheridan thinks this is all a bit fishy, but he's going along with the rules and what he's been told. And one of the things that I do like about the episode though is the reaction he has when the general who we know from before, like he sends like one of his like, I don't know, higher ups, what's Sarah, I think was the character, but she shows up and she has like one of those scrambler devices to make sure no one's listening to the conversation, and explains that it's them that snuck him out and they need to get him because he's got all this evidence that is at least the starting of a case against the current president and the conspiracy to like take back EarthGov. And I think it was when Sheridan just sort of like called Garibaldi and went, right, Garibaldi, come see me in person. You're going to love this. And because this has come like right after several scenes of them like gearing up all of Babylon's 5 security with tech and stuff to go find this guy. And because he's got like a tracker in his blood, so they've got a device that'll track it and all the rest of it. And it just becomes this kind of thing where, all right, well now I have to, work against my own forces and not have them know the fact that I'm trying to sneak this guy out now. Which becomes kind of the plot. Unfortunately, I think after this point, all of the actual looking for him was just kind of mildly amusing at best.
Yeah, I agree. With the exception of Max, who's like the second best character we've had on the show so far.
Oh, he's second best. So it's Gary Graham as Lord Cairo, and then this guy is Max.
Yeah.
That's the hierarchy.
Yeah, he might have dethroned the Mantis.
Oh, Mantis is number 3 now. Oh, damn.
Who are we getting him back?
I believe we'll see the Mantis again. I don't think we've seen the last of the Mantis.
Well, we spent a lot of time in the areas where I suspect he is. We haven't seen Mantis. And there's a name for him too, but I can't remember.
He's in a different atmosphere area though, so I don't know if we've spent that much time in that specific area.
Yeah, right. There's a lot of steam.
Speaking of specific areas, we got a lot more talk this episode about the sectors of the ship. And the brown is indeed the ass of the ship. It's the furthest one back.
Told you. It's the butthole. The butthole of the station.
Did you laugh a little bit extra when they said he was in brown number 2?
No. I didn't notice that.
That was because they said brown 23, brown 17, whatever as it went on, but they said brown 2. And I went, yes, it is. Very good. So, yeah. So
this is
yeah,
our dumbest joke.
I know. I've had better. I agree. So Jacobs is on the run. He gets kidnapped by this Max, who's just basically a mugger who recognizes that this Jacobs is a bit, he doesn't belong in the lower decks with all the riffraff. He's clearly someone from rich society. So he kidnaps him, steals what's in his pockets, including the data crystal that has all the intel, and puts up a ransom. And very quickly from here, they just kind of like, oh, well, this is the area that he's probably in then. We'll go and do that. Yeah, and they throw up some distractions because there's a guy from EarthGov there to track down Jacobs, who's not like villainous in the same way that Bester's been around. Like, he's just kind of there to do his job, and they just kind of try and trick him as best they can as it goes on, without antagonizing him too much. But they trick him by sort of suggesting why he might be in this other sector, so they go because the lead might block all of the transmitters or whatever.
Right,
so,
it's just to buy time.
Just to
he
buy
just
time.
keeps tricking them into areas that would take a long time to explore.
Which leads to the plan at the end of the episode, which is to make him think that he's not on the ship because they hook into the computers and they can scan the whole ship with their tech, and he's not there. And the reason why he's not there is because he's on Kosh's ship. I guess we're getting to the Kosh plot now, but to sort of jump to the end of that, just for the purpose of this plot, Kosh has agreed to let them use his ship to disguise this Dr. Jacobs, and because the ship is organic technology, it is living technology, as was hinted at way back, which actually, this is a neat little thing, is that they referenced that episode where that was suggested in a separate way, this episode. And I love this because when they bring up that Franklin knew this doctor when he was in university or whatever, like he studied under him, we actually have had a similar character before. Back in season 1, we had someone else that he knew at university, and I love that the show's self-aware enough that Garibaldi called that out and said, hey, the last time one of your university professors were here, we ended up with several dead people and a weird,
that artifact.
The artifact thing, yeah. So I appreciate
Didn't that
that
artifact end up in Earth Force?
Yeah, they showed up at the end, I think.
Gov.
Yeah, I think that was the episode anyway. But I remember, they showed up at the end and said, "No, we're confiscating this. This is EarthGov secret experimental technology now."
Are those technologies similar to Kosh's ship then? Because they're both like living machines.
That's a good question. I mean, I suppose if living machines exist, I would perhaps suggest that it wouldn't just be one type, that there's going to be a whole, spectrum of kinds, but it certainly sets up the idea that whatever these beings were that had this tech, they are as old as the Vorlons are.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it does look, it looks older, like the artifact. It looked like a scarab beetle or something.
Yeah. I did like to touch that he only agreed to this seemingly if Jacobs would be unconscious the entire time, because he didn't want him to see the inside of the ship, because as we know, they're very secretive of the Vorlons. So but this is the trick. This is what kind of pulls it off, and it's a fine ending. All the other stuff with Kosh though, obviously Kosh cooperating with this is the most cooperation he's ever given to anyone, so that is notable in and of itself. But I do think the rest of the Kosh stuff is more interesting. I especially love when Sheridan goes to see him and he's like, hey, I want to build a bond, I want to learn more about you and you can learn more about us. And Kosh
he's trying real hard.
And Kosh, as he often does, just kind of says, you're not ready, blah, blah, blah. I loved his reaction, though. So Sheridan gets pissed and says, you know what, enough of this shit. You have been being like this constantly since I arrived, but I feel like you're always monitoring and seeing what's going on with me. You're showing up to meetings that apparently you never used to show up to. But I love Kosh's reaction when he happens to throw in... And Sheridan doesn't do this intentionally. He doesn't know the meaning of this phrase as far as Kosh is taking it. But he throws in the phrase, what do you want? And Kosh, who's ignoring him basically this entire rant, turns around and says...
Gets triggered.
Never say that sentence, or never ask me that. And it's like, oh, because obviously we have meaning with that, because that's what Morden asked back in season 1. So that was a cool thing. But he agrees to teach him so that he will be ready to fight legends.
Legends and myths, as Shakar would say.
Which that probably ties into that phrase and the idea of whatever these things are ancient, and they're referred to as legends and myths, depending. So maybe that's just a small link to say that what Kosh is talking about and what Jakar's been talking about is coming are the same thing, just from different mythologies and different interpretations.
It's the demon dog in the book, in Jakar's book.
No.
Of something.
No. The demon doll was a specific thing that was similar, but was not like...
Yeah, but aren't they both linked to the shadows?
It was linked. It was going back to the source. I think it was if I remember correctly, it wasn't literally one of them. It was similar or adjacent or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
super interesting stuff. Probably the best part of the episode, other than, Bull with the sunglasses on. But it seems like Kosh is around more now that Sinclair is gone and Sheridan is there. Kosh has taken more of an interest in things, especially how Sheridan is captaining. So I think
I wonder if now obviously it wasn't intended this way in season 1 because they didn't know, but I wonder if, let's say this was always the plan to have Kosh get more involved a lot, a little by little in season 2. I wonder if they're going to play it as the reason why he never bothered taking an interest in Sinclair is because Kosh always knew he was going to leave because he knows so much.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's how they play it.
I mean, it works. It works that way. It works like if Sinclair was still on the show, that the shadows are making more of an appearance, then Kosh would take more interest and stuff. But yeah, this is a nice way to change that story. Anyway, it seems like Kosh is more interested in Sheridan because maybe Sheridan has some sort of destiny. Like maybe that's why he gave him that vision, and he wants to. He's watching him a lot, and he wants to like train him. There's some sort of like.
What does that even mean? I mean, I know he says to fight or face shadows, or sorry, not shadows. I'm swapping words.
Legends.
To fight or face legends, but does he literally mean fight? Like, is he talking about combat? Is he talking about outthinking them? Is he talking about what exactly does he mean when he says that? That'll be kind of fascinating to see as it goes on. But I thought that scene was good. I think one of the things they've done with Sheridan, I think, has been really smart is over the season is they really established how his chemistry is different with the characters versus Sinclair. And this is kind of the last one remaining, right? We've seen him interact with all the other main characters at this point, pretty much, outside of maybe, I don't know, has he talked to Lanier? I don't remember it, but, that's not a big deal.
Yes.
Yes.
When she was in the cocoon.
You're right. Yeah, okay, of course. Okay, Veer then. Has he had much of a conversation with Veer? Probably not.
I think so, because his first interaction with Londo, one-on-one, like Londo lied and like set up a surveillance thing in his office, and I think he sent Veer in first. I've been watching the show.
All right, fair enough. Your memory's better for these little things. What can I say? Yeah. So I think this is kind of the main event. It's like, okay, because this is almost like further than Sinclair ever got, is like getting this reaction out of Kosh. So that is like super interesting. I'm really into it. I will say things that maybe let the episode down. I said how some of the just Garibaldi and Franklin walking around, it doesn't really feel like they accomplish anything when they're searching until they hear the intel about him being kidnapped, and then they've got like a place to kind of go. So it doesn't really feel like that.
It's sort of an accidental, like they just happen to be in the one section where like a guy, the guy that they're looking for sold his necklace or something. Yeah,
there's the merchant who, well, it wasn't Jacobs that sold it. It was Max who stole it from him, who then sold it. Yeah. So that leads them back to them. So that doesn't really feel like it accomplishes much. As there's a couple of fun lines or whatever on the way. The other scene, I thought the scene with Sheridan. What?
Oh, I was just thinking about the hat again.
Oh my god!
It just reminds me of like people I know who are they have like a fedora and they just want a reason to wear a fedora. Like, dude, fedoras are gone. It's not the 1930s. You can't get away with it.
Look,
Every guy thinks he's going to be the one person who can make the fedora work again.
They came back in style in the 2250s, okay? Or they will come back in style in the 2250s. No, so the other thing that I think falls a little flat, and I like the purpose of the scenes, and like again, like the reactions to it at the end with Sheridan and like him like finding out what he finds out. But I did think all the scenes, let's say all the scenes, the two scenes with Sheridan and I'm assuming Sarah is the character who comes to like tell him all this information, I thought they were a bit overly dramatic. And I wasn't sure if I was supposed to be questioning if she was really sent by who she was sent by, or if the actress was just overdoing it a little bit with the the enunciating and being dramatic and this is not enough, but it's a star, and like I don't know. I guess it was just a kind of a mediocre guest star.
Or like, we're gonna need all the help we can get in this war. Yeah. Yeah,
Kosh a bit generic.
Yeah, she's all right.
Yeah, but it seems like that because. I think some of the really great episodes, and we've had a lot of them this season, have been very good at every scene having some sort of nuance or having their own unique spin on how the scene plays out, and the characters are so interesting. I think sometimes when they have some of these, because to be fair, some guest characters who have come in have been very good, and they've really enhanced things, and that's when the episodes are really firing off on all cylinders. But sometimes when they have these maybe weaker guest characters who come in, this character feels we have all these interesting, rich characters on the show who have developed layers and have really distinct interactions with each other that have been growing and bonding over time. And then you give me this really generic, this is a start. The war is coming. Like, it's like, okay, you're just kind of one note and you're just kind of there for the plot and that's it.
Plus, the big conspiracy doesn't seem like it's that big of a conspiracy. Like, I'm sure everybody's thinking it. Like, okay, you were conveniently sick when everybody died. Like, it looks bad. It's a bad look. So it's not like it's a big mystery.
Yeah, just about proving it, I guess, more than anything.
I guess so.
Yeah. I wonder to what extent this plot line with the air stuff goes, like, because this doesn't feel like it has the same amount of steam in it than the actual war does. But then I can see it maybe twisting when maybe it gets to a point where it doesn't matter anymore. Maybe, you know, Bureau 13 just kind of take over and, like, well, tough. They're just in charge now, so no one's getting any repercussions. And at that point, how do they then interact with the actual big war that's going on and so on? So.
Well, yeah, I mean, there is a lot going on here. There's a lot of pawns on the board. There's the shadows are doing their thing. Earth Force has their inner, like, civil war going on. There's the Mars stuff and Psychor stuff and now the Narn and Centauri are fighting. Like, there's a lot going on the show right now that they've set up. So I imagine the big threat is probably the shadows, just because they're the big mysterious legend myth like creatures that are involved here. So they're probably the most powerful. And I'm sure all of these are going to link up somehow.
Yeah, I mean, I think if nothing
become one
else,
big storyline.
There's so many plates that have been set spinning as the shows went on that it does feel like a very alive world, where every time we go into an episode, it's like, well, all these things are going concurrently, so it's just a case of what are we focusing on this time. And sometimes when they do have two of them interact, like, it does kind of feel special. We're like, oh, okay, this is why it feels like a living, breathing world where it's not just a series of plots. There's something more than that, which is what I really like about the show. It's just unfortunate that, you know,
there's a lot of conflicts going on right now.
This episode's just a bit, well, it's just okay. It's like, you know, it's adding a little bit to all these things, and I like them sort of being in awe of the Vorlon ship. Obviously the visual effect of the actual, like, you know, turret or whatever coming out, or the arm coming out to, like, threaten them. Although I do like the detail they have to keep it on its own little section of the station, because the security on it is so lethal that, you know...
Nobody can be... Like, the maintenance crew is like, we're never going back there.
Yeah, the maintenance crew, apparently they're still having nightmares because it's, like, got in their heads. And if you know, if Kosh is using telepathy with Sheridan, if the ship's using some sort of weird, like, oh, okay, now you've just got nightmare fuel. Like, I have got into your brain.
Does the ship communicate with Kosh? Because I think I saw some writing or something up here.
It looked like the opening, once they leave the where the ship is, the dock, Kosh kind of comes out. He was hiding, you know, he's been sneaky over in the corner. But he comes out and he does, some writing appears on the side of the ship. And it's just like he acknowledges whatever it says to him and then sort of goes on his way. So,
did you see that episode of Rick and Morty where, like, the daughter is in like Rick's ship, and, like, the ship it's not sentient, but it, like, takes the orders of protect, I can't remember her name, I don't watch the show a lot, but protect the girl, like, so literal that it just, like, destroys everything around it.
I think I have, because this is like a running subplot throughout the episode, right? Because they go off on their adventure and leave her on the ship on herself, and it's just this running B plot of, like, everything happening around the ship.
And everything escalates and gets worse and worse.
Yeah.
I was getting that kind of vibe from the ship, from Kosh's ship.
I could see it. But now Kosh is, like, agreeing to let them use it. I'm sure he's telling the ship to be nice and don't shoot Sheridan in the face. he's got destiny, that boy. He's got potential.
Yeah, well, the laser pointing at his heart.
Like Predator.
Yeah,
it's a Predator ship.
If it were 3 dots, I would have been more scared.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, strikes fear into the hearts of everyone. That does. It's
funny.
funny.
3 dots with the subtle purr.
I feel a little bit bad because we just had 2 reviews in a row for this show that were in the 50+ minute range, and this one is basically done, and we'll be lucky if we hit 30 by the time I've done the outro.
bringing up Rick and Morty references that I can't even like remember the details on.
But it's we can't stretch out if the episode doesn't actually give us the material to dig into it. It's not that there's nothing interesting in this, but I think it's notable that a lot of season 2 episodes have been at least hitting 40 minutes when we talk about them, and it's just because there's so much in there to analyze and talk about. And this one, it's kind of it's not a terrible episode by any means. It's just not like, it's not a particularly good one either. It's got some good things, but
also, I mean, the conflict that this one is adding details to is the one that I'm the least interested in right now.
Sure. I think that's fair. I think I'm interested in it, but I don't know if I'm more interested in it when we bring in the Bureau 13 stuff and we've got the Psycho involved. Just this on its own, which is the center stage of the whole episode because the A plot's all around it. But of course the B plot's where we all of our favorite things, for legitimate favorite things, not just hey, look at this goofy asshole in the sunglasses. Our legitimate favorite things were all from the B plot, and I think that makes sense just because of what each one was focusing on. We almost forgot to talk about something very important. I can't believe I forgot. So I mentioned that Garibaldi gets Franklin to come with him to go hunting for Jacobs, mainly because Franklin knows who he is. So there's a bond there and whatever. But he has to do this in secret because he can't have the other security staff find out. So he sends a video message to Franklin where he just says, "Hey, happy birthday, buddy," and Franklin's just like, "That's not my birthday. What the hell is that idiot Garibaldi playing at?" And he tells the computer to look through the video, like scan it for anomalies. And basically the video stops on one frame of video where Garibaldi has drawn onto the video 2 speech bubbles telling him to come see him in his quarters in private and don't tell anyone.
Why did he have to include the speech bubble?
Because he's a comic book fan. He wanted to do it properly. He's like, I'm not. For me.
Well, he's a fan of Daffy Duck.
That's true.
I don't know about comic books.
For one thing, I would say the visual, because the freeze frame that happens on Garibaldi's face is pretty silly looking, so it's a good visual gag. But what I really want to know, and I didn't go back and check, I kind of want to go back and play it back and actually like go frame by frame myself and see if it's really there when he plays it the first time. Like, does it do the Fight Club thing where it just flashes for one frame?
Oh, right.
I gotta know.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. I laughed at that. I don't know if it was unintentional or not, but man, the show has some really unintentional humor sometimes. That one was great.
To be fair, I want to go out on the record and say that I do think that was intentionally meant to be a little funny. Okay?
The speech bubbles?
The speech bubbles. That was meant to be a funny way of doing the secret message. However, what you're about to tell me about is probably not... Well, I mean... No, I wasn't intentionally meant to be as funny as you're finding it.
Okay, well, I thought Garibaldi's laser gun was pretty funny. Because it looks like just like a little hand pistol, like something from like the 1940s detective would have. But it goes pew, 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 pew with lasers. Although I think it has like a chamber for bullets.
I mean...
It's like a prop gun.
On the one hand, you could say that they don't have enough money for props, so they're just kind of repurposing something that's clearly whatever. However... I do think that because he's dressed like he's a 30s PI, that maybe it's an intentional visual thing.
Maybe he's just like a collector, and this is some sort of nostalgic collector's item, where you can get your laser blaster to look like a 1930s Magnum. I don't know what kind of a gun. I don't know guns.
I believe Garibaldi would use such a service, that he would go and purchase such a novelty item.
Well, it was pretty funny. I like this show a lot.
By all means, let us know what you thought of this episode of Babylon 5 in the comments. You can support everything we do by liking and subscribing, ding the bell as well if you want notifications. All of that does support us a great deal, but you can also support us financially, can't they, Tara?
That's right. If you enjoy our reviews, please check out our Patreon page. It's patreon.com/MalifestTV, where you can donate as little as $1 per month, and you'll get access to bonus episodes for other shows we do. And if you donate $5 per month, you'll get access to these Babylon 5 reviews 1 week early. You also get Star Trek and Twilight Zone a week early, and some shows you get a day early, and you get to vote on things like what we'll watch, and be our bestest friend. Thank you.
I ain't promising that last one, but
You be my friend.
that is so there you go. You can catch us on Twitter at mail_fuzz for channel updates, but that has been our discussion of Babylon 5. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching Babylon 5. Just don't give away the home world.